Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to learn about this super important issue, being that we have all come accustomed to, which is hormonal birth control and herbs that can take its place. So caring about your reproductive system is super important for yourself, for your children, for your children's children, and their children. Your reproductive system is a direct line to the future ancestors. So making sure it's at its optimum health is not only good for you, but also for all of the beings that come after you. So I also want to say that I am not here to judge you in any way. If you are using hormonal birth control, I totally understand. In the 60s when it came out, it was super liberating for women to finally have this power over our bodies and ability to not get pregnant when we don't want to get pregnant. So if that's where you're at and the pros are outweighing the cons, that's okay. Power to you. Do your thing. But there are some serious cons, and I'm going to talk about just a few of them quickly. So the biggest one that I see is that birth control is used to cover up, to mask symptoms. So many times young women, 15, 16-year-old young women, are given birth control for some sort of hormonal issue, some hormonal symptom, like excessive cramps, irregular bleeding, heavy bleeding, acne, weight gain, different things that can either be normal or should be explored and should be fixed at the bottom of the issue, rather than using hormonal birth control to mask and cover up the symptom. Because when women are in their 20s, when they're in their 30s, when they're even in their 40s, and they decide to come off on the birth control that they were prescribed when they were young, guess what? The issues are many times still there. They might even be more intense because we never got to the underlying issue causing the symptom, which could be the cramps, the acne, the symptom that is trying to tell us something about our body and the way that we are treating it, the way that it is living that might not be at its best. So if you're going to take your birth control for different symptoms, try to also make sure you are going to figure out the bottom line issue of what is causing those symptoms. And then there's going to be some big things long term that hormonal birth control could be bad for. There's been an increase in cervical cancer rates for people who take hormonal birth control long term. There's been studies that heart attack and breast cancer have increased in women who have taken hormonal birth control. And these are just a few. Studies are now just coming out because we started taking it in the 60s. So these women are just now getting to the age where a lot of these things are happening to them. So studies, I assume, are just going to keep rolling, keep coming as we become more aware of what hormonal birth controls, what suppressing our ovulation, what not having a real bleed is doing to us, long term, even short term, internally. So before we get into the herbs, I want to go over quickly the importance of understanding our fertility. Some people will call this fertility awareness method. You can call it that if you vibe with that, if you want. But it is super important to understand our body on a deeper level and understand when we are fertile, to not only be able to effectively take some of these herbs, but also to know when we can have sex, when we can have intercourse with no worries, or when we should use caution and we should make sure that sperm isn't going to get inside of our vagina. But if they do get inside of our vagina, we're going to talk about the herbs that you can take in case that happens, because we know that sometimes that happens, whether a condom breaks or whether an accident happens with your partner. So understanding your fertility is important, and there's going to be lots of different resources that you can use to really understand that more. I'm only going to cover it very briefly, but there's pretty much 2 phases of your cycle, right? So there's the follicular and there's the luteal. The follicular is when your menstruation begins, and then you have the short period before you ovulate. When you ovulate, that is when you're fertile. That is when the egg is releasing from your ovary to call out to the sperm to get fertilized. So sperm can live inside of you for 5-ish days prior to ovulation. So you're going to be fertile before you're ovulating, and you're going to be fertile for a couple days after, because the egg will remain active and will remain searching for a couple days after. So this is your only window that you can get pregnant. This is the only window. The only thing is like truly understanding this window. So you're going to be able to do this through tracking your cycle. This could take a few moons. This could take half a year. This could take a whole year. This could take a while to really understand your cycle. But go ahead and just start now. Do you remember when you started bleeding last month, this month, when you stopped? Yeah, and there's other ways you can tell. So like your temperature, you can tell from your cervical mucus. So you'll actually feel what it feels like, and there's going to be all sorts of diagrams you can find online about what fertile cervical mucus looks like, and it's awesome. That one's my favorite way. You can also just keep track of your mood, how you feel, because when progesterone hits, that's when you're in your later phase, which is your luteal phase. And this is when you're going to start to very quickly feel down. It's a quick drop of that estrogen and a quick raise of the progesterone. So you're going to feel a mood change happen after you've ovulated. You're going to feel it very suddenly. Sometimes it's one day you're feeling great, and then the next day you're like, why do I feel like total shit today? Like, that could be a cause. So just try to understand your cycle a little bit more. Go in depth with when you are fertile, when you are bleeding. Listen to your cycle. Ask your womb the questions. Figure out your own answers with your fertility and when you're fertile and when you can have sex freely. So now to get into the herbs. My favorite herb for contraception is Queen Anne's lace. Queen Anne's lace has been used for a long time. It's also called wild carrot. And she has been the most effective one that I have seen be used in myself and in people that I have recommended to, and friends, people online, people doing studies. Queen Anne's lace is magnificent. You're going to take Queen Anne seeds, so the seeds that she creates, like if you're going to harvest it yourself, you'll wait until the flower is brown and it's like totally closed, then you can go and collect her seeds. If you're going to do this, be super cautious, be super certain that you have the right ID, that you have the right plant, because there's a poisonous lookalike called poison hemlock that can kill you. So just be super aware that you have Queen Anne's lace. My favorite way to remember that it's her is that she has hair all down her stem, so Queen Anne has hairy legs. So you'll use Queen Anne's lace as a sort of plan B. So after you've had sex, after you've had intercourse, if it is during your fertile window and there has been sperm that has entered your vagina, you don't want to have a baby, you can take some Queen Anne's lace. You can just chew on the seeds if you have those available about 8 hours after the sperm has entered you, and 2 to 3 more times after that. You can even take it up to 7 days after if you feel comfortable doing that. You can also take it as a tincture. If you're going to take a tincture, make sure that it's crushed seed tincture so that you're actually getting the inner and you're getting the medicine that you want out of it. So yeah, Queen Anne's lace. My favorite, my go-to, my number one girl for contraception. Then there is neem oil. So neem oil is cool because this isn't something you're going to take after the fact. It is more of preventative care. So you can use neem oil internally in your vagina as a spermicide. When you're doing this, it will actually kill the sperm that could come by. This oil is super potent. It's also used as an insecticide, so you can put it on your plants and it'll kill insects that are trying to eat your plants. So I'm really cautious of this. Just see how it is on your body, inside your body. It's a strong, strong plant. It's a strong oil that kills insects and kills sperm. So just see how your body reacts to it. If you want to try it, that's awesome. It's also been used to take internally for men. So this is actually a birth control that men can take, which is amazing. If you ask me, give them some of this power too. So they'll take it and it'll be an internal spermicide. So it will kill their sperm temporarily. So it has not been shown to have any long-term side effects. When you're done taking neem oil, your sperm will go back to full health. Use your own caution with this. If you feel like that works for you, definitely do some more research always and try it out if you want to. So then we have 2 vitamins I want to talk about, vitamin C and vitamin P. So ascorbic acid and rutin. Both of these have been shown to help with pregnancy release. So vitamin C, you can put the tablets directly on the cervix, inside the vagina on the cervix. And this will create a more acidic environment for your womb. And the sperm really does well in an alkaline environment. So having it be too acidic, the sperm isn't going to last. You can also take it internally. So you can take 10 grams for up to 10 days. Do some more research on vitamin C, ascorbic acid. There's been some studies that have shown different side effects that aren't super appealing. So, use this one if worst comes to worst situation. Same with vitamin P. You'll take 500 milligrams daily. You'll take it a little bit before you ovulate and after. And this one is in Susan Weed's book, Childbearing Year. And the other one I want to talk about is Smartweed leaves. This one is also an ancient one that's been used for a long time. You can take her as an infusion and just drink it if you feel that you have become pregnant after having sperm enter you when you're in your fertile phase. If you take spermweed leaves, Smartweed leaves, don't carry the pregnancy to full term. I'm gonna say don't do it with any of these. If you're trying to use pregnancy release at all, and it doesn't work, and the fertilized egg has decided it's really strong and it wants to hang on, be super cautious about then carrying it to term and actually having the baby, because you may have affected something in the egg that could have an effect on the baby. So with Smartweed leaves especially, don't carry it to full term. With the other ones, that's up to your discretion. I wouldn't though if I was you. So those are my favorite ones to use. And then there's going to be some herbs that have a little bit more caution rates. So if none of these seem to work for you and you're like, I'm just not really vibing with any of them, like, my herbalist said that they're not going to work for me, my womb said they're not going to work for me, my angel said they're not going to work for me, whatever the reason, you could use these herbs that have more caution. But if you're going to, call up your local herbalist and try to make sure that they can provide assistance in you taking these ones, like Pennyroyal and blue Cohosh. So blue Cohosh, you'll take a decoction of this as an abortifacient, as a pregnancy release, and same with Pennyroyal. So you'll take an infusion. Again, these have side effects that could cause some more serious conditions. So just make sure you're taking the right amount. Call your herbalist. I'm not going to tell you this because I'm not a doctor. I'm not your personal herbalist. I'm just here to provide some information that I have been studying about and And I hope to plant some seeds that you can, metaphorical seeds, not ones in your wombs, metaphorical seeds, so that you can go and do some more research and feel what feels right for you. So again, thank you so much for watching this. Now, if you've watched the whole thing, I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate you taking the steps to better your cycle, to get more in tune with your womb, and to use natural ways of birth control, ways that our ancestors have been using, and ways that are still here today for us to use and become friends with, right? Become allies with these plants. They are here and they are willing, so hopefully one of these calls out to you and you can go and find them and use them the way you would like. Thank you so much. Big blessings.